All right, welcome back to Shovicks Sports Sh-t. I'm Cory.
I am Austin.
We got another guest. Second straight week we've had a guest. We're honored to have AJ here. AJ Blitz 6 podcast. Go find him on Instagram. And he also has, you got some podcast episodes out. So you want to tell people where they can find your podcast?
The Blitz and Pick 6 podcast. It's on pretty much everything, Spotify, all that. Not on Apple yet. I got to do some stuff, but everywhere else it's on Podcast Addict, all that stuff. So, and then Instagram.
Perfect. Yeah, they get kind of tricky sometimes when you're trying to do all that shit with trying to put them on all the platforms and stuff. Shit, we're still learning how to do some of that stuff ourselves.
I got copyrighted on one saying intro had music, and I own the intro music. So I'm like, dude, that house, I don't know. So it's confusing sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So we're gonna talk some college football today. We did some Broncos talk last week. This week we're gonna dive into college football. College football season's among us. So you had posted something a few weeks back, your 2024 preseason Heisman top 5. Kind of walk us through that, and then you also kind of picked your winner. So kind of tell us about how you got to your pick.
All right. Well, my top 5. I know for sure Will Howard is one of the ones that I picked personally. Anyways, I know it's Will Howard, Dillion Gabriel, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, and I forgot who else it was. But I believe it's going to be Carson Beck. Carson Beck. Yeah, from Georgia. For sure, 100%. It's either going to be Carson Beck, Dillion Gabriel, or I believe Will Howard. Like you said, Dillion Gabriel is coming from the transfer out of Oklahoma. It's going to Oregon. That team's stacked right now. They got wide receivers like crazy. They're just reloading. They're almost like Georgia. They just reload on every position. So I believe I don't really think Dillion Gabriel will win it, but he's going to be in the top 5 in December for sure, because that team is going to go 11-1 or 10-2. They're going to be there. Who else was it? Carson Beck, he's going to be there just because Georgia's going to be undefeated again. They're going to go 12-0 most likely. And everybody knows the Heisman's a quarterback trophy practically. They're always going to give it to them, even if they don't win out. But mostly you got to win out to win that. Like last year, I know who won. That was the guy from LSU. And they really didn't have a good record at the end of the year. They were like 8-4 or something. So usually they don't usually win that. Usually you got to be on a winning team. But I also was it Dillion Gabriel. I like Will Howard the most, just because he big body, strong arm, mobile, and he's playing at Ohio State, and that they're also stacked at wide receiver, running back. Their whole offensive line's back again this year. They just got to play Oregon practically and Michigan. I'm not sure if they play Penn State this year, but that's the only 3 teams in the Big Ten. Who else is going to beat Ohio State? I don't think Michigan's going to do really anything this year, so I believe that's a breeze for them. So I just believe Will Howard's toughest opponent is going to be Oregon, and they're going to probably have to play them twice. They're probably going to have to play them in the conference championship. So I believe he has an easier schedule than Cam Ward, Travis Hunter. Those guys I just put on there. Those are the 2. Travis Hunter is my wild card. If he can stay healthy, he could do something. But I mean, for him to win it, he's got to have 1,000 yards receiving, 10 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. He's got to do good on defense and offense to win it. He's not just gonna win it with Shedeur throwing the ball. And I liked Cam Ward coming out of Washington, Wazoo, going over to Miami as well. I feel like their roster is pretty good as well. But those are my 2 long shots for sure. They're like 4 and 5. But Carson Beck, Dillion Gabriel, and Will Howard, those 3 guys are going to be there 100%. And I think Will Howard for sure will take it. I got some. He started 28 games at Kansas State. He's got like 900 yards rushing, 19 touchdowns rushing. He's thrown for over 5,000 yards there in the 2 years he was there, and about 48 touchdowns, I believe. So he could spin it for sure. And I just that's my pick for sure for to win the Heisman. And his odds too, if anybody's betting, his odds are plus 1,500. I think that's stellar. You need to hit that right now before it gets too late for sure.
Absolutely.
I believe Carson Beck is it's
Yeah,
Carson Beck, Dillion Gabriel. Might be one other guy, but Will Howard's right. I think like fourth in the odds list. So that's who I like, Will
yeah,
Howard for sure.
and we're pretty familiar with Will Howard. Obviously, K State. You had mentioned K State. We obviously we pay attention to PU. So we had a chance to watch Will Howard and what he was able to do. K State, obviously, their offense, they've always had good running backs. There were times where he was a little shaky on throwing the ball, but they built the offense around running the football. And I think going to Ohio State, where you have Chip Kelly and Ryan Day, I think Chip Kelly's going to do wonders with this guy. I think coaching does make a huge difference. It's not that K State doesn't have the coaching; they had Colin Klein as their OC. But then you had like Deuce Vaughn, DJ Giddens as running backs. But K State's obviously a defensive team, and they were stacked on defense. I do love Dillion Gabriel. I think Oregon's offense fits him better than it's not that he was bad at Oklahoma. It's just Oklahoma was like the explosives, like throw the ball, chuck the ball down the field, whereas Oregon's quick. I mean, obviously, Bo Nix throws the ball behind the line of scrimmage, get the ball out quickly, don't turn the ball over, take care of it, get it to your playmakers. I think that's going to benefit Dillion Gabriel a ton. So I do agree with the top two. I'm still a little iffy on Will Howard just because not quite sure what to expect with Chip Kelly and Ryan Day. The skill position players at Ohio State are off the charts, so there's really no excuse for the dude not to go out and just ball out. And then Travis Hunter, I think Colorado has so much potential. It's just a circus. As long as they can get their mind on football, I do like Travis Hunter. I think he's going to be a really good NFL player as well. Both sides of the football, he's just a playmaker in general. I think Shedeur, the offensive line is going to be a question mark again. I know they reloaded all across the board, but if they can, keep Shedeur upright and get Travis the ball and get something, if they can get situated, there's a ton of talent in Colorado. Carson Beck, I mean, again, like you said, Georgia's there every year, right? I mean, it doesn't matter really who the quarterback is, plays in a top-notch conference. Cam Ward, going from Washington State to Miami, can be a little bit different of competition in the ACC, but I think he'll be fine. Bro, do you want to kind of chime in on what your thoughts were on those five?
AJ nailed it when he said it's the Heisman's really kind of fit the criteria of who wins, and that's matter a little bit. I'm not a believer in Will Howard, but I agree that he's never been to this level of talent at literally every position him. So I don't disagree with it. Carson Beck, I agree. I think my two long shots, I'm going to make one. Jalen Milroe. We saw what this coach was able to mix and Washington and everything. So Jalen Milroe, kind of a long shot. But I am a believer in non-quarterback award too. So I think the best offensive player who's not a quarterback is all. That dude is incredible. The Big 12 isn't exactly known for defenses. I think he's my non-quarterback long shot. I saw what he did against KU last year. If he wasn't on the field, KU wins that game by 100, but he was on the field. But he's just so explosive, running, everything. So I agree with Gabriel, Beck, Willard, but good quarterbacks out there that you can kind of take a lot of long shots. Quinn Ewers, another one that comes to mind. Depending if Kate Klubnik figures it out at Clemson, there's a lot around him. It's a lot of
pretty much those top three are going to be at least top two for sure will be there. But Quinn Ewers, I like him too at Texas. It's just going into the SEC. I just don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what's going to look like. I don't know if it's just going to be shootouts all Saturdays with them or how it is. I believe he got hurt last year too, didn't he? Shoulder. So if he can stay healthy, he'll have a good season too. Oh, and your guys' Kansas.
Yeah, and there's a lot of unknowns with Texas.
Jalen Daniels. He could be there.
Yeah, and that's another. That was a dark horse. I've been seeing a lot of people like nationally. I mean, it sucks that it literally is JD6 or bust for KU. If that dude gets hurt in any capacity, we're we go from a 9 to 10 win, possibly 11 win team to maybe 7 or less. So it's just wild to me how much one player could shift it that much. But I mean, that's literally, you saw that the last couple of seasons with him, where KU's 5-0 on our way to beating TCU, going to 6-0 and maybe making some noise. He just separates his shoulder. Now there's not Jason Bean to fall back on. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of stress going into the season, I guess you would call it, just based on one guy.
Yeah.
But if he stays healthy, I do think he may have a long shot. But I think what may hurt him is, the Big 12. Yes, we added teams, but we also lost 2 pretty decent teams that, that could hurt, I guess, in the long run. As far as like if we do get that 1 to 2 loss, and then we're in that bubble, because then you kind of play yourself out of, well, now you got to win the conference championship to get in. So you don't really have any margin for error like some of these other guys do. So yeah, do you guys have any more comments on like maybe some dark horse players that you may be looking for Heisman this year?
Dude. Jackson Dart, Ole Miss. I think he could do something this year. Again, though, SEC.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah, and the SEC is just so wild because I mean, I think a good chunk of those teams have pretty good quarterback play, especially the top-notch ones.
Yeah, like literally everybody.
It's just, and then I'm going to throw another non-quarterback. I like Luther Burden. I'm not a Mizzou fan, but Luther Burden has a chance to be one of the top draft picks next year. He's just he's big, physical, he's fast. Mizzou has Brady Cook as their quarterback too. So as far as like non-quarterbacks, I do like Luther Burden as like a player to kind of definitely watch and keep your eye on, to put up some massive numbers. Again, you think of like the smaller teams, like Avery Johnson, K-State, Rocco Beck with Iowa State. So there's not the huge name teams, but there's guys out there that could put up numbers and have a really good season. Obviously not everyone's going to have the weapons that these guys that we just talked about as your top 3, but it doesn't take much, right? You just catch fire and you stay consistent, and then before you know it, boom, you're making a name for yourself, and you're kind of taking that next level.
Yeah, I want to throw another another non-back one that I think is getting overlooked is Donovan Edwards. I know really don't know what to expect with Michigan. Was able to do there. And Donovan Edwards, I think, is a little more explosive, so there's more big play capability from him. We could list 100 quarterbacks who all probably have like okay odds of winning it. But I think there's a short list of receivers and running backs on the list, and I think Donovan Edwards would make that list, just given Michigan runs 95% of the time, or at least have the last couple years. And I think he's actually a little more explosive and a little better than Blake Corum was. And nothing to take away from Blake Corum, because that dude was a stud too. But
yeah, I also like the kid from Ohio State, the wide receiver. I think he's a senior. I'm not even going to pronounce his last name, but I think it's his first name's Emeka. Yeah, I'm not even going to try. You know his last name?
Yeah, we know Ebikumum or Ebicum or something like that.
I don't even know. Yeah, he's been injured, I think, throughout his career almost. But if he could stay healthy, he'll go off. And Ohio State again, Garrett, you got all Harrison Jr., you got all these studs that have come out of there too. So I wouldn't put him. I wouldn't say he's under the radar, but a non-quarterback for sure.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that if he doesn't get hurt last year, he probably comes out and he's probably another first-round receiver to add to the Ohio State list. I don't know if he goes where Marvin Harrison does. He's obviously not Marvin Harrison, but I think he's still a first-round pick. But obviously, again, like you said, the injuries kind of hampered it, which means that's good for Will Howard. That's just another, if healthy, fast, good target to kind of take care of. So now we can kind of transition from players and what all that to, you also posted your conference champions. You picked Georgia for the SEC, Ohio State Big Ten, Clemson is your ACC, Boise State is your Mountain West, and then Utah is your Big 12. Kind of give us your thoughts and rundown, especially with the SEC being so stacked. Kind of how'd you land on Georgia?
It's gonna be. I think the SEC championship is gonna go through Georgia. It's gonna be Georgia, Alabama. I think Bama's got a little more easier schedule than to say Missouri's pretty good too. It's gonna be there could be what a 5 or 6 SEC teams in the playoffs this year. I mean, they all like 6 of them can go 11-1 practically. So that one was really hard for me to choose because, like you said, they're just so stacked. You don't know what LSU is gonna do. We don't know what Texas is gonna do. I don't think LSU is gonna do anything. I don't think Texas will. Uh, Missouri's there. Oklahoma, they're not going to do anything. So it's going to be Bama, Georgia. Who else did I put down? Who else is in there? There's a freak. We're just looking at everyone's schedule too, just kind of going down and saying, oh, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. And I had Georgia going 12-0, Alabama going 11-1. Who else did I have? I had Missouri going 11-1 as well, but I don't think Missouri plays Bama or Georgia. Or no, they might play Georgia. That's their loss, I believe. But it could easily be Missouri. That conference is stacked, dude. It's so hard to predict. Anything could happen. But I don't think Texas A&M is really going to do anything. Who else is in there?
Well, I think you had
Florida.
mentioned like all their like one losses. Most of those losses are probably going to come to each other, right? So I mean, therefore you're kind of helping yourself out by only losing a conference game. Now you're still sitting there where the committee is going to sit there and say, well, they're only beating up on each other. So I mean, at that point, why not just go ahead and put them in? Are you going to take a one-loss SEC team, or are you going to take a one-loss, ACC team? I mean, that's just kind of where it's at. As far as like, well, if Alabama's one loss is to Georgia this year, well, I mean, we've seen that before in the last few years where they lose to each other, but yet here they are still in the postseason. So I mean, what that there's no changing that now. So, yeah, I think Mizzou, it's still a hit or miss with them. They win the games that you don't think they're going to win sometimes, but then they lose the games that you think they're going to win. So is this the year that they stay consistent? I mean, they keep pumping out NFL talent. So, I mean, what's not to say that this couldn't be the year that maybe they do put it all together and they do squeeze out an SEC championship bid. I hope not, because obviously I'm a KU fan, so I don't really root for Missouri to win any kind of championships, but I do like some of their players. Big Ten, Ohio State. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Michigan's going to be as good as they have been. Harbaugh's gone, but I know they have a familiar guy there. But man, you're replacing a lot of talent that left.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, we keep saying that, right? Like Ohio State, Michigan's a thing, but yet Michigan just kind of handled Ohio State the last couple of years, even when we didn't think they would. So this might actually be the time that they can do that. If not, Ryan Day may be out, so they may have to find a new coach because I mean, you can only lose to Michigan so much before they start saying, "Hey, come on, man! This is one of your better teams you've had. You got to figure it out." So. Is that kind of what your thoughts were when you were picking Ohio State as your Big Ten champ?
Yeah, I went through all the schedule and said, who are they going to lose to? If they lose to anybody, it's going to be Oregon. They're in the Big Ten. Yeah, Oregon or I think it's either Oregon, Ohio State, or nope. I think that's all. I think that's what I picked. It was going to be Ohio State, Oregon, and I believe I picked Ohio State to beat Oregon twice. They're going to beat them in the regular season and then beat them in the championship, the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, you have USC coming to the Big Ten. I don't think USC is going to be anything special.
Nothing.
They may squeeze out a surprise shock win here and there, but no, I'm not a big USC believer. Not as much as I am Oregon. Oregon's at least. Yeah, Penn State's going to have a solid defense. They got a couple really rock solid linebackers, but they've always been a really good defensive team. They've always been a team that can run the football, so hopefully they can they can score. And that's kind of the name of like even Iowa. Like you look at Iowa's a good defensive team. You average 3 points a game, and you lose games 9-3, 6-3. I mean, you kind of have to score, so you got to find some offense somewhere. Bro, what's your thoughts on the Big Ten?
Yeah, me pretty well. I'm actually a lot bigger on Michigan than most. I think they're still stacked where it matters with trenches. That's where they've won their years. more early on. That early season matchup is going to be huge. You'll learn a lot about both teams at that, but they get a more mobile quarterback in there, make their run game a little more dynamic. In Ohio State, I mean, those teams are just stacked, so why wouldn't they kind of be the odds-on? Penn State's always kind of, I feel like they always kind of underachieve. Here they're kind of really good, kind of really bad, kind of just never make any sense. And then I'm never, I don't think they're a threat to anything. So I get Ohio State. Me kind of always liking Michigan. I'm never going to just say Ohio State's going to do anything relevant.
Yeah, so let's squeeze over to the ACC. Clemson, I do like this pick. I think, Dabo's too good of a coach. I think they reloaded. I think Kate Klubnik will kind of, he got the rust off. He's got the jitters out. The ACC is not going to be as stacked as they have been. Obviously, North Carolina should come back down to earth. Wake Forest, not really too much there. Florida State, they obviously lost quite a bit, so it kind of depends on that. They got DJ. They're the ones that got DJ Ungole. So maybe Florida State, but no, Clemson. The coaching staff's been there for too long. The experience matters. So I do like your Clemson pick. Kind of give us your thoughts on Clemson.
I believe Clemson doesn't take any transfers, right? They don't use the transfer portal.
They haven't. No.
Yeah, I don't think
transfers.
They do, but I know their D line is stacked. I know that for a fact. The only other team that's going to give them any problems is Miami could do something, but I was going to say Florida State.
Yeah,
but Florida State lost a lot of talent. I think they lost 5 on offense, 5 on defense. So I think they lost like 13 guys total. So
and they had a ton of transfers too. They lost transfer portal.
They have a bunch of people left. Yeah, then DJ, like you said, DJ he's back in the ACC, but we've seen him at Clemson, and I'm not a big I'm not sold on him, to be honest. If anything, that defense, Florida State's going to keep them in the games, and Clemson just all the way. Miami could do something, but ever since I saw that coach run the football on what was it, like 20 seconds left, he fumbles it and picks it up. Yeah, I don't know if I could even I won't even bet on that, because I don't know if you're winning and you're like, we got this one, and he does something like that, you're on the blacklist. I'm never watching you again. That was just trash. So I feel like Cam Ward's probably going to help them a lot, but I don't. Maybe 9-3 or 8-4. I don't think they're going to do anything. That's Clemson's, another like Ohio State. I think that's Clemson and Florida State's conference to lose for sure. NC State could do something. Last couple of years they've been doing pretty good, but like you said, Dabo is too good of a coach to have a down year last year and then to come back this year. I think they do lose. What was that?
Grayson McCall.
Is it McCall or Leary? Of McCall? Yeah, it just I have it written down right here. I was gonna say.
Well, my thoughts on Clemson too. If DJ was as good as everyone thought, he wouldn't have left Clemson, right? I mean, he would have stayed. And so, leaving Clemson and going and transferring, that kind of gives it away of you weren't about it. Dabo, and Dabo's not going to really give a shit if you leave or not. So,
yeah,
be better than Cade Klubnik. That's what it comes down to, and he couldn't. So, Florida State could be. He still has talent. Florida State could still be getting a real one. But again, if you're anything, you wouldn't have had to leave Clemson.
Yeah, correct. And this is his third school. He went to Oregon State, and then now he's back. So
Oregon State, yep.
He's just hopping teams. I don't know why he didn't stay at Oregon State.
Yeah, he was doing just fine there. So let's pop over to your Mountain West. You picked Boise State. This is one where I actually think I lean towards Colorado State just based on what they have. Boise State's pretty stacked. It's been kind of their conference, and they've been kind of the top gun. But I would say I would watch Colorado State just based on I think they got a good young quarterback, and then I think they got one of the better receivers in the country. I think he's going to be a pretty good NFL receiver. But yeah, Boise State. It's Boise State. They're consistent. They're solid. So kind of give us a rundown on Mountain West.
Well, I picked the Mountain West because, the Pac-12 Her Pac-2. That's not they don't get an automatic bid, do they? I don't think so, right?
No, I think they're just playing some of their games with the Mountain West just to fill out their schedule.
Okay, yeah. So, because I know that would have been one of the Power Five conferences. So we only really have four now. So that's why I just slipped the Mountain West in there because I figured Mountain West was better than the Sun Belt, the AAC. Who else is out there? And whoever
Yeah.
else. But pretty much that's why I was like, well, who am I going to replace them with if the Pac-12's not there? So, yeah, Boise. I believe their only loss is probably going to be towards Oregon. And do they play Colorado State? I know Colorado State's pretty stacked. They got some good. Their quarterback's decent. Wide receiver.
Yeah, I didn't see Boise State's schedule. But I think there's enough in there where they may have a round robin where they do play everybody. So
I think if they get in like to the playoffs too, they'll be in at large, probably towards the bottom something for sure. Even if they go 11-1 or at the end of the year, I still think a 10-2 SEC team could hop them for sure, dude, to get in. So I don't even know if even if they do win out, they're not going to beat Oregon, but if they win out, I don't even know if they even get in, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it would come down to strength of schedule. What's their non-con? Oregon could be a good enough win where they say, hey, that might actually get it to you. But then, I mean, you got to see the rest of Oregon's season and where they're sitting, because you never know with that. Now let's go to a conference we're pretty familiar with, Utah, Big 12. We actually did like the Utah when we talked about our Big 12 episode, probably like 6 episodes ago. Utah and Oklahoma State were kind of towards the top of what we were thinking. We did put K-State in there as maybe a sleeper just because they've always been good on defense. It's just how well is Avery Johnson going to play? And with Utah being new to the Big 12, they get their quarterback hopefully back. I want to see all teams at full strength because Cam Rising's a pretty good player when healthy. So, yeah, I mean, there could be 2 or 3 teams from the Big 12 that have a chance. Again, being a homer, I do believe KU could be in that mix. I know they were picked 4th to finish in the Big 12. Man, Utah's a good team, and I'm really glad that they're actually in the Big 12. Bro, what are your thoughts on the old Big 12?
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 teams at the top. The Big 12 is not as stacked as like the bigger SEC, so it's not going to take a lot to separate yourself to get to the. I think in the Big 12, if there's teams we named, their one superstar is enough to help carry them to the conference championship. Oklahoma State with Ollie Gordon, Utah with Cam Rising if he's healthy and plays like he should. KU. Big 12's week where any of these guys could just have us and carry themselves to a conference champion. I think, not to be a homer, I think the Big 12 is the most open race of all the conferences. All the other ones, you have 1 to 2 teams where you're going to just know it's going to be them, barring just like natural disasters. I think the Big 12, you can legitimately have 3, 4, 5 play their way into the conference championship, and that's honestly kind of exciting. We all would, unless it's your team and you're winning all the time. Other than that,
yeah, and Big 12 is obviously not known for defense, so this is new. Whereas Utah does have a pretty good defense year in, year out. Again, it comes down to the quarterback. So kind of give us your thoughts, AJ, on Utah.
I think it's going to be Utah. Like you said, I like KU, I like Kansas, but I also like Arizona coming out of there. I think they might put up a fight. The Wildcats could do something. Not Arizona State; they're not doing nothing. But it could be like you said. Austin said it. That one it's a wide open. It could literally be between like 4 or 5 schools that they're all going to beat up on each other probably to get in there. But like you said, I picked Utah. I actually did pick Utah to face Kansas for the championship for the Big 12, but then I just keep thinking about Arizona because they got a good QB, good wide receiver, good defense. They're stacked too, so I'm just Every time I see that, I'm kind of
Yeah,
like, it
they
could be
really are.
Utah, it could be Arizona, like you said, it could be Kansas. It ain't gonna be Colorado, I can tell you that. But who else went over there? Oh, UCF, right? I think they got the KJ Jefferson, the dude from Arkansas. Are they in the
Yep.
Big 12? Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, they could do something
They
as
are.
well
This is
because
their second.
yeah, he's good too. So I mean, that one is wide open. That one, but I think like you said, Cam Rising, it's his 10th season. He could as long as his knee stays healthy, he'll be all right. I think he's been there for about like 8 years now, right?
Yeah, I think this is year
Yeah.
7 or 8. I did see that the other day.
7 years.
There was a write up on 7 or 8. Yeah, there was a write up on him.
That
But
is
again,
crazy.
injury after injury.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm super stoked just because of what the Big 12 was able to replace. I mean, you lose Texas, there's no way that you bounce back, right? No, you can. I don't like Arizona State, but I do like Arizona not only for college football but also for basketball. That's going to be a huge conference. Um, I'm with you there for a little bit. I thought maybe Colorado was going to get it figured out, but just seeing how they have their off season and what their players are doing,
Mhm.
I don't think their heads are in the right place. I think Nebraska handles them fairly easily that week 2 game, and I think you see the true characters start coming out the few weeks of the season just based on how they handle themselves. So um, I think it's going to be the specs for Big 12. Iowa State could be sneaky. Um, but of the new teams, I do like Arizona and Utah um, to make a push. I think KU plays Arizona. I don't think we play Utah, so it'd be a fun Big 12 championship game for sure if it was KU Utah. Um, Strength versus strength, I guess. KU hopefully with a good offense and Utah with the pretty stout defense. So let's kind of go into obviously new format with playoff this year, 12 team. You're getting teams that have buys, and then you kind of have your play-in games. Um, Give me a couple teams that you're thinking could be that way too early national champion.
Way too early, like to win it.
Yeah, so like who would you pick?
Gonna be Georgia, man. My top 10 right here. Well, I'm just gonna say it. That's my team, Georgia and Notre Dame. They're not gonna be in there, but I'm just gonna say it anyways. Um, um, Georgia. I mean, Ohio. I'd see Ohio State going as well. I can't see them losing really. Like there's just I feel like I could go out there and be quarterback, just hand the ball off, just
Oh
don't
yeah,
mess up. Like there's like you said, they got that freshman wide receiver Jeremiah Smith. That he's gonna be a stud. I don't know if you guys seen highlights of him. He's crazy. The
yeah,
one hand he catches all that stuff. Emeka, they got the uh, Junkins, the transfer running back. They also have Henderson coming back. Their whole old line's back. So I mean, how could it like they can't mess this year up. This is their year, and Georgia, I believe, then they could play each other because they both have buys, so that should work out. But Notre
yeah.
Dame's not
I'm
gonna.
buying into Ohio State.
I just threw Notre Dame out there 'cause that's.
Hey, no harm in that. Um, I do like Ohio State this year. I do like their chances of getting to a national championship game. Um, just for namesake, as much as it pains me, I don't think it's going to be KU to get to the national championship this year, unfortunately. Um, but I do think it's going to be a SEC team. I think it's going to be Alabama. Um, I just they're new coaching staff, so that's there obviously. Um, but I love their quarterback. I love what they have back on defense. It sucks because it's always going to be an SEC team. It seems like every year. Um, but yeah, I like Ohio State, Alabama. But in the end, I still think Ohio State has just a little too much experience, especially with Will Howard. So yeah, I'm gonna go Ohio State as my national championship or national champion. Bro, what do you got?
Yeah, I never pick anything that makes any sense, and I'm not going to start now. AU and A&M in the national championship. A&M got their old dude out. They're finally going to be able to use talent that they get. They get waves of, but now they got a modern coach and won't be running some night. I think they're slept on. Probably rightfully so. I'm just more not Georgia and Alabama. So KU and A&M. If I had to give a little bit of a serious one, I think it's going to be annoying, but I think it'd be Alabama and Ohio State. They're loaded, but they can just keep choking because that's going to be really fun to me. We're sitting here talking about how they're loaded and it's their year when it's not, in fact, their year. Alabama, Michigan. Basically, I think Alabama wins the national championship no matter playing. There's new energy in that building, and I know that's weird, especially when the energy being replaced is Nick Saban. But there's an energy in that building, and I mean, we know.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you said, SEC all over the. So, all right, let's kind of. We got a few more minutes. Let's go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think last year Alabama's problem was their offensive coordinator as well, Tommy Reese. I don't think he was a good, decent quarterback at Notre Dame, and I know he was there for 2 years, but I don't think he fit well down there with Saban and how he was trying to run like the first couple games they were all three quarterbacks every game, right? Like they were still trying to figure out who was it and all that. And I know he wanted Tyler to start so bad because that's his boy, and it just wasn't gonna work out. So I just feel like once they got rid of him, I was like, I think he was mostly at fault for that, to be honest. And I like him too, but it doesn't fit.
Yeah, and again, I'm a firm believer that fit matters, coaching matters. If you have coaches who, we had to suffer through the dark days of KU where it was always rotating 3 or 4 quarterbacks in every single time. Like, what were you getting into when you have to continuously rotate a quarterback? Like, stick with something and go. And if you don't like the guy, then don't start the guy and stick with the other. So yeah, basically a new fresh start for Milroe. The dude's a talent. He's too good of a player to not play. And I'm really excited about the DeBoer hiring there, just based on what he was able to do with Michael Penix. So let's kind of round out something. You'd mentioned your top 10 list. Was that?
Oh no! It was like I kind of did like a little bracket, kind of like who I thought was going to be in the college playoff.
Yeah, let's hear that.
All right. So of course I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, 1, 2, and 3's got to be the conference champions. So Georgia, Ohio State, Utah, and Clemson. So Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Utah 3, Clemson 4. And like you said, this is a homer pick. If Notre Dame can somehow go undefeated, I think they go in at 5, but they can't have a bye because they're not in a conference and all that. 6, I believe, could be Alabama. 6 and 7, Alabama, Oregon. Just because if Bama can't get, I guess Bama could go 5 if they're a 1 or 2 loss team. They probably will be 5 because they got to jump Notre Dame or whatever. Then I actually got 8. I put Florida State in because if they can go 10 and 2, I believe they'll be in. Penn State, I believe they can make it in at 9, and I put Texas at 10. And 11, I put Missouri because I believe they'll be in at. I believe they'll be 10 and 2, 11 and 1 team for sure. So you've got to put them in. And rounding out for 12, I was kind of like my little wild card pick is the Big 12. I was thinking Arizona because I really don't think they're gonna put any I mean, are they really gonna put a Mountain West team in there? Are they gonna put an AAC? Are they gonna put a Sun Belt? They're not really. I mean, unless like you said, Boise's got to go 12-0, and I mean, who else like from ACC? I know SMU left. They went ACC, so they're not gonna.
No, and that's kind of the downfall with some of those smaller schools. If you do go undefeated, I mean, you can noise, but now you're banking on you look at strength of schedule, your opponents, and I just don't think teams are quite there where they're scheduling difficult games, and everyone knows it's not really beneficial to maybe schedule those Mountain West or the AAC MAC or the MAC. So yeah, I think kind of a miracle for one of Boise State and or Colorado State, someone from the Mountain West. I'd love to see it. That would be awesome to see small conference teams. It's just like NCAA, the March Madness tournament, right? Like you want to see those smaller schools get in because you never know who catches fire, right?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, man, I like that top. I like Arizona as that sneaky pick. I'm actually excited to see what they're in Big 12, just because I want the Big 12 to be good. I want competitive games. And now I know they're never going to be the SEC and what the SEC is able to do, but again, I want to watch good competitive games on Saturdays. I don't want to see blowouts all the time. So, dude, I really appreciate you coming on today. We're gonna have to do this again for sure. Check in with you throughout the college football season to kind of see where our Heisman picks are stacked throughout. Bro, do you have any comments as we wrap this up?
No, man, I just really appreciate you joining. We love seeing other people. We get caught up in fiction.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, man.
No
AJ,
worries.
you got anything else?
No, that's it. I'm good. No, that's about it. But I did hear. Did you say you guys are Denver Bronco fans?
No,
I'm Bronco.
Whoa. How you? I think they just announced Bo Nix as a starter, right?
They did. Super excited about that.
I was gonna say, how you feel about that?
We kind of knew it was gonna. Yeah, we knew it was probably gonna happen. I know he was trying to play it. Sean Payton was trying to play it smooth, acting like he didn't want to announce the quarterback. Everyone knew that Bo Nix just had too good of a preseason, a good camp. So yeah, I mean, obviously being a Broncos fan and having to see Patrick Mahomes twice a year sucks. But it is what it is at this point. I'm just happy that it's some positive news for Broncos finally. After they were showing some highlights, some game tape of Audric Estime the other day and him just stonewalling a couple of linebackers on a blitz. Yeah, dude, he's a brick wall. If he's gonna block like that, he's definitely gonna see some playing time. I do like him and Javonte. Javonte Williams, obviously, coming from injury a couple years ago, wasn't quite the same. Yeah, man, there hasn't been this much excitement around the Broncos since we traded for Russell Wilson, and I'm hoping. Yeah, no, he's not looking too hot for him right now. Not looking too hot for him right now. But yeah, I mean, again, Sean Payton, rookie quarterback. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited to see how they grow and how he grows. Bro, what's your thoughts on the old Chiefs season?
I mean, it's obviously going to be an undefeated Super Bowl. Thing less is a bust. So last year, regular rough. So now kind of season, but I think it's going to be business as usual. Win the AFC West. Do what you do in the playoffs. There's going to be good competition this year. Teams got better. Chiefs got better. I don't know how it get to the postseason because we know it's going to happen. That better be.
Yeah, I think their first two games are at home. Luckily for them, right? Like, hey, let's hand the Chiefs some more. Yeah, let's make it as easy as possible. Oh yeah. Well, AJ, we really appreciate it. Hey, I like Lamar. I like. Well, actually, my brother's a huge Derrick Henry fan. My brother's actually like Derrick Henry as his like sleeper fantasy football because apparently you look at all the fantasy lists and they have Derrick Henry basically falling off the map for some reason. So my brother is an absolute Derrick Henry fanboy. So yeah, he's going to be that. They kind of.
I like the Ravens just when they're not playing.
Yeah, unfortunately, Joe Burrow was my MVP pick. Sorry, guys. I have no dog in the fight as far as the Bengals. Yeah, dude, I like Joe Burrow. Man, and I just like the weapons he has around him. I think as long as he's staying healthy and he's doing his thing, that is the one guy I think could beat Patrick Mahomes when it matters. But again, way too early. That could change. But yeah, I like Joe Burrow, and I think this could be Yeah, man, we got one more week of season and then a week off and then we get going. So AJ, appreciate the time. Make sure you guys go find him on Instagram, Blitz6 Podcast. We'll put up a graphic with his tag. You guys go find him, follow. Next week we'll do a KU football preview. Who's KU here soon. So until next week.